Let's get started. So today we are going to go through Git and GitHub, and just to recap what we talked about on Tuesday. What did we talk about on Tuesday? What did we do on Tuesday?
We install packages.
Exactly. Okay, we install packages using different ways, right? How do you install packages? Using what? Conda. And what's the other one? Mamba. What's the other one? Another pip, right? All three ways. So it should be pretty simple and straightforward now. And with that, you can go online and find interesting packages. You will know how to install them. But you have to keep in mind, not all the packages support all the platforms. So some will only work on Linux, some on Windows, some on Mac. So you have to pay attention. When you install the packages, if it doesn't work out, then you have to debug by yourself. But most of the time, the majority of the packages will work across platform. And so when we talk about how to develop your own packages, I will show you how you can develop something that can work across platform. But for today, I'm going to show you the tools that you need in order to do software development. So it's called Git, a version control system, and also GitHub. As I mentioned at the very beginning of the semester, so Git and GitHub, what's the differences? Remember? Can you give an analogy to someone that have no idea about technology? Like, what is Git? What is GitHub?
I remember GitHub was like the place that everything is put, like the interface.
And then what is Git? Like, can you give an analogy? Like, show people like, oh, what is the differences between Git and GitHub?
It's like GitHub would be like the store, and then Git would be like maybe a more specific aisle in the store, maybe, or like a section.
The first part is right. The second part is not.
Right.
Anyone else? I believe we mentioned about that, but you have to be very clear about what exactly it is.
Would you say?
Yes.
Would you say like Git would be the road that you take that would take you to the store?
Not exactly.
Git is kind of like a language, but more like a protocol.
Yes, you're right. Git is like a language. You can think about like a language. GitHub is just like somewhere in the cloud you can store. Or you can have another is like writing and Google Docs, writing and Microsoft Office, writing and Notepad, whatever. So Git is it doesn't matter what it is. It's just like language that everyone can use, all the company can use. GitHub is just one of those that hosted the source code, provide some tools that makes it easier for you to manage. But you don't necessarily have to use GitHub. Okay, you can have everything locally. For example, right, you can have a Microsoft Word document. Do you have to host in the cloud? No, you can write something anywhere. You can just open anywhere. And there's so many tools that can help you write. So GitHub is just one of those that can help do that. So it's more like GitHub is like a storage space. There's another one called GitLab. Or there's all kind of internal cloud used by big companies. But many of them are using the same one called Git, or there might be some other, but it's basically a version control system. So now you're very clear, right? So next time you have to explain to somebody like, okay, write a language, and then something used to write that language. Because in terms of language, right? Language, you have syntax, you can all the stuff. You know, language follows something specific, right? You're not going to have something alien language. English follows something that you have to follow the rules. So Git is the same, and there are a couple commands that we're going to go through today. You're going to use very often, but we're also going to use Visual Studio Code to help you manage that, so you don't actually have to remember a whole lot. But it's nice to know a couple commands, just like pip install, conda install, that you will need to remember if you want to do something using the command line. But I have all the command lines on the website, so let's go through resources, and then from here, I have something in here, and so we're going to go through the steps, make sure you know how to set it up. But this all the setting up the configuration usually the first one-time setup only, so you don't have to do that every time. And we are going to also show you how to download some packages. So in the past, if you're trying to download some software, you go online, you download exe. But in terms of Git, you don't have to. Everything will be automatic. So you don't have to go online to download the zip file all the time. I'm going to show you how to do that. So first of all, we're going to go to this one to set up your computer, your Git configuration. And have you all signed up for GitHub account? Yes? So with that, let's go through this step. If you already have done that before, you don't have to, but this will be the step that you need every time if you install Git on a new computer, because you need to configure your username and also your email. So whenever you push the stuff to GitHub, it knows where it comes from. So this is basically an identifier showing you pushing stuff to the account. And you probably it's common that you only have one GitHub account, but you can have multiple, right? You can have a work account, you work email account, you have a personal email account, so it's okay. But we need to go through this step. So first I'm going to show you how we can come here. So all you need, open your terminal, or you open your, on Windows, open a terminal, and then just type Git. Just type Git and then enter. Okay, see if you can get this one. If it doesn't work, then probably Git is not on your system environment. Then you can also go to start menu, all apps. If you're on Mac computer, just type Git. It should ask you to install if you have not installed Git yet. So you can also come here. There should be also Git. After install Git, you should find this. On the lab computer should also have this. So there's one you call Git base and then Git GUI. You can just open the Git base. Okay. So these two should be the same. I personally like the Windows terminal. It's better, this one. But if this one doesn't work, you can try this one. So it should be the same. So I can also type Git, hit enter. You should get the same stuff. So try the Windows terminal first. I like the font size a little bit larger than this one. If it doesn't work, raise your hand. Works for everyone? No.
Could you show which Git you opened again?
Oh, just type Git, enter. I just want to make sure that you can see this stuff. If you type Git and then hit enter, if it shows an error, that means something is wrong. Everyone? No error? Okay, that's good. So if nothing, no errors, then we can continue. So first, I would like to show you just this one, Git config, and then dash global dash list. So this is kind of similar to the con.env list, just to show you what's in there. So if this is the first time, it will be empty. But if you already set it up before, you will not see something. So let me clear the output here. Oops. CLEL. That's weird. CL. Okay, CLS. So what you need, Git config, and then dash global dash list. Just type this one and see if you can see something in here. If it is, probably if you are the first time using that, you'll be empty. Because I have done that before, so you know you can see my name and also my email here. So can you type this one? If you cannot see it on the screen, go to the website resources and then scroll down to the Git section. Just copy this line and then just paste, hit enter. You should be able to see the result. Yes?
Mine says fatal, unable to read.
Say it again.
Fatal, unable to read.
Fatal, unable. Let me take a look. Is it the terminal or is it the Git page?
The Git.
Oh, because you haven't set it yet, so there's no file. Basically, that's why I said if there's a first time, it doesn't show you. I said earlier like it's empty. The same thing like the file that cannot be found, so you'll be empty. So it's okay, it's perfectly normal. I'm just saying that before we want to reset that, you want to make sure that you don't mess up your existing one. So if you already have one, that's good, not good. So next, what you need to follow this one. I can just simply copy git config global user name and then your name. So you want to have double quotes. Make sure you have double quotes. Sometimes it will interpret as two names. So what you need, I can copy this one, right click, If you can type really fast, it's fine as well. Just right click on the terminal, extra paste, and then just use your cursor to change this one within the double quotes to something, your name. Okay, and make sure you use the name that you are going to show up on GitHub, because this is going to link to your GitHub. So later when we push stuff, it's going to show up your name. So don't have typos. You can also correct like if you want to. Get this one, and then just enter. So it's the same command that I show in here. So the first one is to say your username, and then hit enter. Okay. Question?
Does that have to match the name of our profile?
It's not necessary, but it's better to use the same name. The email is the most important. The name doesn't really matter. The email is the unique identifier. So the name can be different, but the email, make sure you use the same one that you use to sign up your GitHub. Otherwise, it won't work. Okay. So second one, the same thing. Just change your email. Copy this line, and then come here, right click, change that to whatever email you want to use. So I'm going to use my Gmail or whatever your UTK email, and then just hit enter. Okay. So this set up correctly, it's going to set up your gig, so that later we can put stuff. And then you can double check again, make sure that right now it's configured correctly. So you can copy this line or just use your up arrow key, because we have did it earlier, and then git config this. Now you should be able to see these two lines. If it doesn't, then something is wrong. We need to fix that. Okay. Who has finished this step? Can you see your name and your username and your email? Anyone else? If you cannot raise your hand, okay, it's okay to ask questions. We can slow down, make sure you set up this one. Otherwise, you won't be able to do anything later, because you won't be able to push things to GitHub. So I want to make sure that everyone can get through this step to set this up. It's a bit annoying, right? But it's just one time, right? It's not like every time. So you do have to know how to set it up. I hope like those software can provide easier like interface for you to like type, but it's not. So it's okay. This is something we can certainly do. Everyone, finish? No? If not, raise your hand. Okay. Need help?
I'm just trying to copy the.
Yeah, just copy, and then if it doesn't work, let me know. I can help you fix that. So this will be an easy fix. I don't expect that it's going to be a difficult one. Are we ready to move? You have a question? Yes?
If your email is not showing up after you do all that.
Then you don't do this one again. So the second line, if the email doesn't show up, copy this line, change this to email, copy, paste, and then change your email, and then hit enter. It should, because this is the 3 lines of code that we need to, 3 lines of command that we need to execute. So make sure that you see your name and also your email correctly. Okay, don't be shy. You won't be able to follow through if you don't have this set up correctly. So, yes?
Yeah, I'm still getting the fatal.
Fatal error?
Yeah.
That's weird. How many of you are getting the error? Go back. Okay. Let me see this. Config space. Config space. It's better you open the course website, just copy and paste this and type over here. Space between the 2 daisies. I need to move your arrow to the left. No, use this. Add a space. Yes. You hit enter. If nothing showing up, so go back to our course website. Just copy the first line. No, go up. Copy this line and then paste to the terminal.
I think so.
Right click.
What should I do?
Yeah, and then change your name.
Yeah, wasn't already.
Yeah, no, your name, not username. Your name. Okay, and then copy the second line to put your email, second line over there, and then change that to your email. I think the Windows terminal is better. You can auto, change it to your. Don't run it there. You need to change it to your email account. And then you enter. Then you can copy the subline to make sure that you can show up correctly. Go back to the website. Yes, this one. And it should show up now. You enter? Yeah. Good to go. Anyone else? Yeah. Whatever email you use to sign up. Yeah. Yes. It's the subline git config and then dash global this one. Copy this one. Okay. And then run it. See. Make sure you can see the result. Is it working? Oh yeah, okay, good. Anyone else? As I said, ask questions, don't be shy, otherwise you won't have trouble down the road. So once you have this, we're good to go, we can do everything else. Again, if you move to a new computer, you will need to go through this, you do need to read this couple commands. You can always come back to the website to if you put more. Or you can just go online, git config, you're able to show you the result. So once you have this, then we can start doing something. So here, there are a couple of ways you can, so Git basically a version control system. You can initialize, create a new Git, or you can pull something from the GitHub because in the software development world, you will need to have version control. We are not backing up the code just by copying zip file and then put it somewhere else. It's not. Everything will still be in the same folder, but you can check out different versions. I'm going to show you later. So it's very cool. It's going to make your life so much easier. So first, let's try to create a new Git repository. So Git, a repo is basically just a folder with a bunch of files. That's it. But it's like Python, R, whatever script you're using. So if you're writing code, Git will be very helpful for you. Doesn't matter what languages, because Git is especially suited for doing backing up plain text file, mostly source code. But you don't want to use Git to back up a movie. It's not going to work. It's basically duplicating the stuff, but it's not 100% make a copy. It only look at the differences. So if I make something new, add something new, delete some lines, Git will be able to check that. And I'm going to show you how you can actually visualize the differences. And it's good for text file, not good for large video stuff. So I want to make it very clear. So once you have this, then let me show you here. I can close it, and so open your computer and then go to any folder you like where you want to save the repository. So we are going to create a new repository. I can go to maybe my downloads directory, wherever you like. It doesn't really matter. So I'm going to go to my where's my download directory. Okay, so in here, let me delete all my existing stuff. Also, try to be organized. Don't try to put things in a folder that already have like 200 files folder in that. Try to have something easier to navigate, because sometimes you will need to use the command line to get into the folder. So assume, okay, this is where I want to save my repository. Again, a repository is just a directory, nothing else. So you can also delete that. So what I want to do, I can just create, for example, right click, let me create a new folder. You can do the same thing on Mac computer, it doesn't matter. I can say, cool, whatever the name you want to use. Okay, so within there right now, like nothing. Okay, so this is where you can create a Git repository. So on Windows, you can right click, open in terminal. Okay, this is one way. I usually recommend this way because you don't have to navigate the directory. But for those of you using Mac computer, you can also just navigate the directory. So either way is fine. So if you are using this one, right now you see open is already in the directory. If it doesn't, then you can just open, oops, sorry about that. I can again open GitBase. Come here, Git. I'm just going to show you different ways you can get into the directory. So if I open GitBase, most of the time you will see by default it's going to enter your user directory. But right now, I want to get into this directory, right? I really hate the color, but you can just dir. It's going to show you all your directories. So usually you just type cd downloads to whatever. cd makes change directory. So we're getting into that folder. And then from here, you can also use dir. Right? Do you see the cool directories in here? So basically, if you open a terminal or something from the program directory, it's always going to be your user directory. So default directory will be user directory. But if you open the directory from already inside there, right click, it will automatically get into the directory. Okay? See that? The Mac computer will be the same. So once you're here, already get into the new directory, everyone? Okay, so once we're here, then we can create a new Git repository. So it's actually very simple. Git space init. Git space init. Okay, basically we're going to initialize. Yes?
How did you pull up the directory? What did you do?
So in here, if you, let me like scratch from beginning, right? Assume you already create a new directory in here. I want to get into my download directory, so I can open, if it is right click, you can open a terminal on Windows. I'm not sure if it is by default or not, you might have to install that. So if this one is not there, I would recommend you go to the Microsoft App Store and you just type terminal, you should install. So, but just open this one and then it's here, open this folder and then just type git init. Hit enter. So pay attention to the directory here, right? It was empty before. After I execute, oh, it's still empty. What happened? But you see initialize empty git directory blah 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 dot git. The reason for that is that by default, any fault directory starting with dot is hidden. So you have to show that. But you can open other software actually to see that. But if you really want, I can also type in here. I just type dir. I think dir. I don't remember the Mac computer. Anyway, let's try to show it here. So go to, I think, view. No, this one, options, and then you need to show that. So view, show hidden files and folders. You don't need to do this every time. I'm just showing you. If you really want to see what's in there, you can do that. But later, I'm going to use the software to actually see the directory. But now I'm just going to show you here. So again, go to the three dots, options. For Mac computer, I'm not exactly sure, but you can ls and then dash a. It will show all the files. And then view, show hidden files and folders. It might already be activated, but do you see the empty folder, the Git folders now? It's hidden, but this is where essentially is Git, and later we're going to be able to actually check all the stuff. Okay. Can you all see the folder now? If it doesn't, I can right click, open. Let's next use Visual Studio Code. So this is the hardware, but the easy way is just using Visual Studio Code to see everything. So also it has Git integrated, so we don't actually have to use command line anymore. Everything is through the interface, so it'll be much easier. But I'm just showing you like before the interface. If you're using command line, this is how you get into that. But next, let's open Visual Studio Code and see how we can actually access the file. So once it's open, then go to File, Open Folder. Then you go to the Downloads directory, whatever you create the directory. And then just select folder, it's open. So the same thing in here right now, you see it's nothing in here. So this Git directory, you don't have to touch it. Don't try to mess up the folder. That one is automatic. Don't try to make changes. If you delete this one, your Git will be gone. But of course, you can create new files, but don't touch this one. Okay, I just want to show you know, like behind under the hood, like why Git was able to check the stuff, because whenever you make changes to your file, and at the end, it's going to be backed up somewhere in here, but you don't have to know about that. Git, I mean, we handle that for you automatically. Okay, so once you have that, and in here, can you open Visual Studio Code and open your directory? Just navigate your directory. It's empty right now, but it's okay. Once you're there, then we can start creating some files. We can create any file, any file extension you want. So all you need is just right click on the left sidebar here, right click and then new file. Okay, I'm just going to create a new one, and this is where you can type the name of the file. So I can just type readme.empty. You can create any file, but usually GitHub, each GitHub repository is going to have a file like this, readme.empty. So empty, we'll talk about more next week. Basically, it's a markdown language used to write stuff. And you can also create a website using markdown. Again, don't worry too much right now. It's just plain text, so you can write anything, but it has some special format that allows you to add all kind of stuff, hyperlinks, bold, italic. There are all kinds of things you can do. So here, are you here? Create the file already? Questions? readme.markdown, and then from here you can just write anything. Okay, hello, this is cool. Okay, you can write any text, it doesn't matter, and then you just Control S. Nothing fancy, but you can create some fancy stuff if you want. So I can go back to here. I can say like you have the pound sign or hashtag. Okay, so this is basically in Microsoft Office, basically the heading label. So this is actually heading 2, heading 3. So we have 2 pound signs, heading 2. So in here I can say, for example, introduction. You see the color is a little bit different. Again, we'll cover this more later, but for now just show you to make some simple changes. And then I can, for example, have this one, for example, examples, whatever, right? Haha, right? Whatever thing you want to write. And on the left side, do you see this icon? Can you see this icon? And this is Git. Okay, so if you have your mouse on here, you're going to say, tell you source control. And this is where we want to basically do the coding throughout the semester to figure out what things you have changed, what kind of things you want to push to GitHub. So in Git, it's actually very simple. Let's assume you have a bunch of files on your computer. You make some changes, and those changes are not merged yet. So basically, when you are ready, basically, for example, when you're writing, right? I write a paragraph, and I think it's good. Then you make a copy, basically take a snapshot, put into the archive. You keep writing, take another snapshot, but you don't want to take a snapshot every time. You want it until you think, oh, it's ready, I'm going to take a snapshot. So this is called staging area. Staging area means it's the files that I'm watching. I would like to make some backup, but there are certainly some files that you don't care about, then you don't have to back up. So in here, you see the plus sign. The plus sign means that I'm keeping track of this file. For those files you don't care, you don't have to keep track. So Git doesn't have to know that. So for now, hover your mouse to this one, and then if you double click on this one, click on here, you should see an interface like this, separate into two windows. The left side is empty, the second one is another color. Right? Now you know the differences, right? Git knows that you create a new file, you add those new lines to that. Understand? So this is essentially Git keep track of those. But right now, that one is not in the staging area. Staging area means you put the file into this one, and then you take a snapshot. We have not put into that yet. If you want to put in there, you will just basically click the plus sign to add that one to the so-called staging area. Staging area basically is a space that the file that you are keeping track. And then when you're ready, okay, take a snapshot, and then you will move the file into the archive. It won't show you the changes anymore. So what we want to do here, certainly you want to click this one, And they will be shortcut like one step, but for now I'm showing you step by step. But later on, we don't have to do that every time. So for now, you just click this one plus sign. See that in here? So the staging area, basically, we already take a snapshot. And that's done, and then we can actually push that. So what you want to hear, this is a message. Message basically is you make a short description, what things you have changed, something like that. So this is essentially later on GitHub. It's going to show, let me show you the website here. So they have a visual impression of like what kind of things that you write on there, we saw on GitHub. So if I go to my GitHub repo, right, you will see here, this is called commit. Commit basically means take the things in the staging area and then commit it. Basically take a snapshot and then push it. So this is where you see what message you write for that commit. So everything is going to showing up in here, right? I bumped the version, I add something, I did something, just description to show people like what things you change. But if you want, for example, I click in here, I get in, GitHub is going to show you, oh, it's not working. Kind of similar to what the Visual Studio Code I showed you, right? The things on the left, the other on the right. So the left is like what kind of things did I change. So red color means I remove, green color means I added to that. So it's the same thing. Visual Studio Code just help you manage that. But again, you don't have to use GitHub to do that. Everything can be stay local. Okay. So right now, we will do more later. For now, just doing like visual impression, what the difference is between this one. And let's come back to here, right? The color is really bad, but it doesn't really show you. But you can certainly, once you get into the staging area, we can actually commit it right now. So on the message box here, you will say message, Control Enter to commit. So the commit basically takes snapshot. Staging area means that, okay, I'm good for now, but you can later make more changes, you can append to it, but staging area, stage changes means, okay, this is a good status, I'm okay for this one, and you can continue to make other files, you can add to that, but you can take a snapshot of all the files together, okay? So next, let's see how we commit the changes. So commit basically is push the changes, and then basically it does like specify the version or something, but it's just like a message showing you what things have you changed. So what we want to hear, the message usually don't make very long. I think it's like, I'm not sure how many like, but we're very descriptive. If it is too long, Visual Studio Code is going to tell you. So what we can do here, I can just say, edit readme file, whatever. You can just, whatever things you want to write, okay, edit readme. It's up to you. Some like use past tense, some like use current tense. It doesn't really matter. It's your own preference. So I will tell someone that, okay, I added a readme file in this one. So next, Control Enter. So Control Enter is going to push these changes. But before you do that, let me show you here. Commit. Right now, you see this is empty, right? So once you commit, you want to see a bunch of commit history. So you can commit as many times as you want. Once you think it's ready, you want to save something, you can do it. So Control Enter. You see, is it gone? It's no longer there. And now if you see your commit tab in here, can you see this one here? Basically this is already backup, okay? So earlier we create a new file, we add something, we commit the changes, and then it's gone. But the file right now, if you go to here, you open the directory, can you see this file? It's in there, yes?
Mine's having problems. So that has unsaved changes.
Yeah, so you will need to, whenever you are trying to commit, make sure you don't see a white dot somewhere in the tab. Control S before you do the commit, because otherwise the computer doesn't know whether you want to commit the one that's already saved or commit the one that you are editing. So before you do all the stuff, Control Save, or you can use the file, save something. If the file make changes, you're going to show out a blue, white dot somewhere. So let me show you here. Right? If I hit enter, you see that? So make sure you Control S before you commit. Okay. So in that way, it's more clear whether you want to save the changes of this one or the existing one because it's not saved. Just like you are editing a Microsoft Word document, before you close it, if you have some unsaved changes, the computer will tell you, do you want to save it or do you want to discard the changes? Same idea in here. Any other questions? Yes?
Should all that stuff come up at the bottom? Because I don't have any of that. Like
This one?
Yeah, commits, commit detail, file history.
You don't have anything of those in here?
No.
Do you click this one? Click this?
Yes.
That's weird. So that tab, all the options will only be available once you.
It says one pending change. So I'm wondering if I could commit. But it's not.
You need to click this plus sign. And then write a message, whatever message.
Yeah, I can.
And then control enter. Control enter. Okay, it's going here, but you don't have the. Let me see. It might be a plugin, but how many of you don't see the options here? Can you see? Not all of you cannot see the option. Let me see if there's some like plugin or something. Commit details. This might be a plugin. I don't remember exactly. So if it doesn't. Let's do this. Go to, I believe this is like default one. Let me double check. So if it doesn't, go to the left side here, extensions. This like the app icon here, extensions. So we can add a lot of extensions. Visual Studio Code is just a text editor, but you can add a lot of stuff. So I would recommend that you install maybe, I don't remember exactly which one, but one that I would recommend is called GitLens. Just type source extensions and then type GitLens, GITLENS. You should be able to search this one. And then on here, on the interface, just click install GitLens. So this is a very popular one. You see like 20,000 downloads. It's a good one. And the other one is the Git history. I think it's this one. I don't remember exactly which one, but you can install all of them. It's going to work just fine. So Git history or GitLens, just search and then install. See if the option comes up on the left side. It's okay if it's not there, but it's just like a bit more convenient. And you see, I have it in here. Get this. After install, can you see the options? Yes, no? I don't know exactly which one like is effect, but whatever. With this, you can actually navigate to see the history. So what I'm going to do here, if you want, right? Also branches. Branches is another concept that's very important. I'm going to show you how you can actually create a new branch, because you need to think about, if you're working in a company, tech company, right? You're not the only one working on a big project. Sometimes can be hundreds, thousands of people working on the same project. Microsoft Windows, right? It's operating system. It's not built by one team. It's like huge efforts. How do you make sure that everyone working on the same one? Like how do you push stuff, right? Because when you're working on here, you can create a new branch and then make some changes. I can merge the branch into the master. So it used to be called master. So by default, it's called a master branch. But now sometimes it might also be main, M-A-I-N. So it's like two of the main one that is basically the master, and then you have so many branches. Everyone can contribute and eventually merge to this master branch or the main branch, whatever. And so next, what kind of things we want to do? You can commit another one. So I can say here, now this is like example. I can provide more detail. Okay. Write whatever we want. We can add code, we can add type of thing, we can all kind of stuff. But now I just want to keep it complex. So I will come here, I like add another line. I can say why haha. What's wrong? Okay, whatever text, right? Again, Control S, And then once you Control S, on the left side, it's going to show you the changes. So this time you're going to see the M indicate modify. So that means we are modifying a file, but we can create new files if you want. So you're going to have you're going to have something. So this is right now we create a new modify the file. I can add a new one. So go to the left tab, upper left corner, this tab. If you want to add a new file, you need to switch to the Explorer. Git can only see the changes, so I can add another one. So I can say, for example, new file. I can say txt.py, okay, or Python file. Okay, so you see here, now I add a new one, and then you can start like writing code, and then you can do the backup, whatever you want. So here I can just say print hello, right? You see, I don't even need to type hello world, right? The autocomplete is quite nice. You probably don't see this one because you haven't installed the can you see the auto, like the recommendation? No? Right, it's okay, I will show you later, but let me remove this one. Hello, right? I just hit tab. And so this is way better than using the terminal to write Python because you have all the syntax, all the functions, much better. So again, Control S, all done. Control S, and then you can come back to Git. So this time, you see like M means modify, U means unchecked. Unchecked means basically it's a new file. It's not, you're not keeping track of this file. So if you want, you can move your mouse here. Move your mouse to the changes, right? You see a plus sign. Because the M1, you don't see the plus sign here. You need to move your mouse, otherwise it's not there, right? So what you can do is just to click the plus sign, stays all changes. Stays means that we're going to take a snapshot, and then you can push. But you can continue to make changes. Whenever you think it's ready, then you can just put them into the staging area. So basically just like take a snapshot, that's it. And if you're not there, if the file is lost, it's lost. Okay, so sometimes something happen, you lose the file, but this is also a good way for you to back up your files with GitHub, especially when writing code, because if your computer breaks down, you lose everything. So if you do this way, every step, you know exactly what you did. So now, again, I just stage all changes, and now it's under the stage changes. You will see, now we change to M, A, like A means like edit new file. So when you push to the staging area, it's going to show you basically different indicator showing you what you did to this file. Is it a new file? Is it a old file that you're modifying? Or are you deleting your file? Okay. So for now, I'm just adding new files. Next, I'm going to show you how you delete the file. And keep in mind, every time you commit, it's in the history. So if anything goes wrong, I can go back to the specific one. I can check that one out, and then you will have the files again. Okay. So essentially, it's making copies, making backup of your file, but it's not making the entire file. It only makes the difference. It only checks the difference, what text you add. So it's not copying the entire file. That's why it's like so compact and efficient. Once you have that, again, just write the message. I can see here I added a Python script. Again, Control Enter. Done. It's now if you see, for example, the commit history here, right? You should be able to see a new file. You make some changes, right? You can see exactly. So if I click here, click the file, it will show you exactly what changes I made. So everything is keeping track. So again, just copy on the history in here if you want to. And I believe there's also a extension. So if you go to your lower left corner here and then click this one, no problems. Here, lower left corner, and then click this like exclamation, the cross. They click this group of icons, and then you will come up. So this is actually we just did code is integrated with the terminal, so you can actually use command lines directly from here. So this tab called terminal. So you can also write code, you can execute stuff, and most of the time you don't need to use the Windows terminal or the all the command prompt, everything can be done within Visual Studio Code. We use more later, but for now, just showing you here, right? You can do the So what you can do is click the git length. If you already installed that one earlier, you can also see from here. So this one is nice because it shows you the history when you make changes. So if you want to visualize like the timeline, because you might be working on a project for a long time, you want to go back to see like what things did I do during a specific time, right? So February 20, yeah, this is basically the same day in here. But if you have a longer history, you will see like it's spread out. But this is exactly, you see the bubble, right? How many commits, how many things you change. So if you move your half your mouse, it's going to show you. And then if you click, let me see here. There are a lot of things you can explore, but most of the time we don't need to use so many fancy stuff. It's pretty simple. You write code, you take a snapshot, and you push to GitHub. You continue to write, you push stuff. Okay. So this is how you add new files into that. So next I'm going to show you, can I delete a file? If something is no longer needed, you can delete it. So again, come back to here, load it, upper left corner, and then you're going to see you have two files in here, right? So assume that, okay, this one I don't need anymore. Right click, delete, and then move to cycle bin. It's gone, right? So every time when you make changes to something, you want to see here. The number one means there's one file has been changed. If you have multiple files, I can delete both files if I want, right? So if I delete both files, it's going to show you two. So this one shows you what kind of things you changed. It's a bit complicated, so let me close off then. Okay. So now you see like a red color D. What does this indicate? What is D? Delete. Okay. A means add. D means delete. U means uncheck. Okay. And M means modify. So those are the indicators. So now if you say okay, it's delete, and you will see here commit, right? So again, you can just commit like I delete, for example, deleted txt.py, control enter, it's gone. Okay. Now if you come back to here, the file is gone. But just let you know, everything that you modify is all in the history. So if you need to go back, for example, recover the file, you can. So this kind of like the cloud, like Google Drive or Dropbox, they delete a file and then you can take it back. So because everything has been backed up using the history. So this is how you can do that using this way. Are we good? So basically it shows you how you can configure Git, and then how you can initialize the Git repository, and how you can make some changes. And this looks pretty boring, but a lot of cool stuff that you can do. So next I'm going to show you how you actually make things to GitHub. But for now, it stores us on your local computer. It's not on the internet, but you can create something on the internet, or you can push something to the internet. So this makes it really how you can work with other people on the same project, because you're not like sending the files through email and then just back and forth. It's not the modern software development. So next, what we can do is question.
Yeah, I have a quick overall question. So the Visual Studio that we were just working in, is it the same thing as like the Anaconda prompt and the Windows PowerShell and all that, except you can like do more in it?
Yeah, so this one here, you can think about the Windows terminal or Anaconda prompt. You can actually access from here. So this is one. I would say, is there a good analogy? I would say like the terminal and the Anaconda prompt is just the notepad. This is just like Microsoft Office.
Okay.
A whole lot more functionality, a whole lot more GUI that you don't actually have to write code, but it's still there because this one essentially here, if I type git, right, it's the same thing. You can type conda. If it doesn't work, that means it's not in the system variable. That's fine. But from time to time, we might need to write some code in here. But again, without this one, you have to do things using the terminal. So everything that we are doing here earlier can just use the terminal. So let me show you like the hardware. If you want to know things inside out, I also provide the command here, like commit git init status, git push, git pull, or something like that. So next, let's show you, like, for example, without this one, you can still use Git. Git doesn't require you to use a Visual Studio Code. Everything you can be using the command prompt. So I'm going to show you like how to actually do this one. And it's going to, when you open Visual Studio Code, it's going to reflect it there, because this is where the Git directory is, where all the history being saved in here. So let me do this quickly. You don't have to, because I don't think you're going to use that. Most of the time you just use Visual Studio Code, but it's good to know when you are using Visual Studio Code, what's the command line is executing behind under the hood. So here, let me, like, I can create a new file. I can say new. I will say samples.txt, right? And then I can just double click, add whatever you want. Okay, Control S. So now here, without Visual Studio Code, I can still commit changes. I can add stuff. So all you need, right click, open terminal. If you're on Mac computer, you can do that as well. So don't worry if you cannot follow through. I just want to show you like what we can do. So once you open up, just type git status. Select. I'm going to show you unchecked file. So basically this one is similar to earlier when on Visual Studio Code we create a new file. It's under the unchecked U sign. It's the same thing. So if you want to keep track this specific file, or you want to keep track all the new files, all you need is just git add dot means period, means all the files that are not unchecked. Because right now we only have one file, I can have two files in there. So I can say, for example, let me add another one. Here I say another yeah, right. So if I add another file, I execute this one, git status, and see the two files, right? So basically, I'm going to show you what files it has are in there that is not being tracked. So basically, you're not putting into the workspace for tracking yet. So if you want to keep track of this file, then all you need is just git add dot means all the files that within this directory. If it's only a specific file, it will be git add samples.txt or another.txt. So if you only keeping track of an individual file, you can do that. So, but most of the time, just git add space, hit enter, and then you see, I type again git status. You see, now it turns to green. That means, okay, changes to be committed. That means we only take a snapshot, and if you commit, then you're going to push it into the history. So similar to what we did earlier, right? On the Visual Studio Code, we write a tag description, Control Enter. Under the hood is executing this one, git commit -m, whatever message that you want to write. So it's the same thing. So I can do it here, git commit -m, m means message, and then space. I can say edit 2 more files. Okay, hit enter, and then show you 2 file strings, 8 insertions. Basically, add 8 new lines. Create more. Create more means add a new file, and then it has been backed up. So now if I type git status again, nothing to commit, because I already take a snapshot and it's inside the history. So if I go back to the Visual Studio Code, right, can you see the 2 files in here? And if you go to the git and we see the history, can you see the one that are acting here? So basically Visual Studio can read all the stuff. So you will see, right, the file, the sample, right? So basically it is intact, but you don't have to use Visual Studio Code. Visual Studio Code makes it easier for you to do all kind of stuff without having the right command line. But this is essentially what you do. And git push and pull, you cannot use this one yet because it's not linked to GitHub. Git pull means we are pulling things from the internet. Git push means we are pushing the changes from local computer to the internet. So we have to set up a GitHub repository in order to be able to do that. So for now, you know how to like create a Git repository, initialize that, and then make some changes, add some new file, whatever, and then commit. So commit means just taking the changes. So these are different steps. Add means just keeping track of the file, because if other file you don't care, you don't have to. Git commit basically take a snapshot and then add some history into the file. Status, just checking anything wrong. Any file answer, yes?
did a git commit -a set aborting commit due to empty commit message.
Oh, it need. Oh, because if you have any changes, there's nothing. But here, there's M, not A. Any commit misses. So if you have nothing to commit, you won't be able to commit it because it's empty. So for now here, right, I already committed the file. Nothing to commit. Working tree clean. There's nothing you need to clean. So if I try to write this one, git commit -m, and then I say the whatever, hit enter. It's going to show you like nothing to commit. So you want to get the error message. So in that way, you want to commit something, make sure there's some changes in there, right? So this is how you can do some simple stuff. So next, let's do some real thing, right? Now, how do we actually, for example, get things from GitHub, or I can create a new repository. So what you can do, in here, again, we can just use the terminal. So let me open my downloads directory. So for now, this you can go to the website and then maybe just try leaf map. So this is smaller, so it might be better, right? So essentially, we're trying to grab the source code from GitHub, right? So GitHub is the largest repository, like the millions of projects. And how do we get the source code, right? There are a couple ways. The button here, the green button, right? You see here, download is a zip file. This is the most common, not the most common one. Is that if you don't use Git, if you just want to look at the source code, you can download it as a zip file. Up to you. But if you're doing coding, this will be a better way to go, because if I update my source code, you have to re-download the zip file. You have no idea, like you need to keep a lot of zip file. But if I just use this Git, you are able to just synchronize the things that I did. But later I'm going to show you how you can create your own repository. For now, just simply click the button here to copy the URL. You see here http github.com, and this will be your username. This will be the name of the repository. So all the GitHub repository, you're going to follow the same pattern. So all you need is just copy this one, copy, and then you can come to any directory where you want to save this one. So I don't need to download the zip file. All you need, I can again open the terminal, okay, and then just git space clone space control V to paste this URL. So this is how you actually get the stuff from GitHub without having to download like in the button. So git clone means basically get a copy, and then this will be the URL that we just copy from the green button, and then just hit enter. See what happens. It's going to download the entire repository to your computer. So it doesn't matter what repository, everything if it is public, you can get it like this. So basically this is just like, think about like you're in a browser, you type http URL and then go to open the website. It's the same thing in Git. Git clone means you're pulling stuff from there. I'm not sure why it's so slow. Might be the file is a little bit, the repository is a little bit big. But wait for a couple of minutes, and then once it's done, then you have the source code to the entire one. The reason that it's big because it keeps track of all the history. So there might have been hundreds or thousands of commits. So every time it's backing up changes, so the repository will grow. But if you create a new one, it will be pretty small. But later I'm going to show you how you can create a new one, and then also pull the changes to your computer. While it's downloading, how about this? Let's create a new repository so that you can link your computer to GitHub. So what you need to do, just add the plus sign upper right corner, new repository. So you can create any new repository. So by default, we're going to use all the default settings. So you can choose the name, for example here, repository. So try to be descriptive, don't make it too long. And then if you have multiple words, you can have like dash or hyphen in between. So here, I would say maybe, how about this? GEOG-510. And so the name need to be unique under your account. So if you already have a project name, this one, you cannot use it. But you can use the same name like mine because it's not a separate account. So because the URL need to be unique, right? http github.com, your username, and then the repo name. So for me, I can just change this one. And then here, you can write a description if you want. I can say course website for GEOG-510. Okay, You can just set the default settings. And for me, I will add a README file. It's much better. And license. Yeah, I recommend you choose the license. And so right now, don't worry about it. If you haven't used it, you can just choose MIT license. So that's the most like one of the most commonly used license. So basically, if you're doing some commercialized, then you have to pay attention to the license. For us, just choose this one, easier. So MIT license means basically it's free, open access. You can do whatever you want. If it's something cause damage to yourself, don't come back and sue me. I don't want to take liability for that. So use whatever you want. Not my fault if something happened. But there are other licenses that you have to pay attention. If it's really commercialized, so if I'm developing this software, in one day Microsoft, Apple want to use my packages. If I use other license, they have to pay attention because some of those require them. If you use my stuff, if my stuff is open source, you need to open source. Or if my stuff is open source, but if you need to commercialize it, you need to require license. So there's so many different ways. And it happens sometimes people copy the open source stuff and then put into the company, and then the source code is not open. And you are violating license. People can like do what's they call like reverse engineering. Figure out that, oh, you're actually using my stuff, but you didn't tell me, you didn't notify me, you didn't get license. I can sue you, and then you need to pay a lot of money. So this is kind of quite complicated, but for now, just make simple. MIT license is the most flexible. Like do whatever we want, get whatever we want, but if there's a problem, you need to figure it out. Yeah, it causes any damage. Just don't sue me, okay? And so here, GEOG. Why did I have this one here? GEOG-510, and then again create an add README file. Don't get ignore. I also recommend because later we're going to add some Python files. So Python going to generate some temporary files that sometimes you don't care about. So it's better to just ignore it. So let's do this one. Just search Python, or you can scroll down. Depends on what language you are doing. So I'm going to use where is it? Python. Okay. So add a README file. Don't ignore, and then just MIT license. Then create repository. That's it. So think about this step. Or it's the same thing that earlier on our local computer. We create a new directory, and then we execute git init. Same thing, but right now that one is hosted on the web. Yes.
At the bottom when we're creating this, there's like a little connection that connects back to whatever source control we're using in the Visual Studio. Does it matter what that is? Because mine aren't matching up.
Let me take a look.
Like yours says master.
Oh.
That's what mine says too within, but right here it's saying main. Is that
Yeah. So that's what I was mentioned earlier. So right now, mine is like using master, but for the new account, might be used the main. The reason for that is like there's a Me Too movement. Like master is like using the slavery. I don't know if you get that idea, right? Now they're trying to ban the war, but I mean, I started this long time ago, so I don't really have to change that because it'll change all those stuff. But you can change the main branch if you want. So you'll be either master or main. It doesn't matter. So you don't have to just use the default. If you want to change that, you can go back to your account settings. There's a way for you to actually. Let me see if I can find it in here. I don't remember exactly. It might be not here. Branch. Anyway, I forgot where exactly it is, but don't worry about it. It's not. It's like it's just a name. So it's master or it's main. So once this one is here, then you can put the stuff from your GitHub account to your local computer. So same idea. Just click this button just to get the URL. Copy this one, and then come back to here. Again, open the terminal. Now you can pull the repository to a computer. So this is exactly, now it's linked. So I make changes, I can push to GitHub so you can see the changes. So git clone. But you don't have to. If you want, you can use Visual Studio Code actually to just directly open the file from GitHub, but I'm just going to show you the hard way. So git clone, Control V, You see, it's pretty quick because right now it's a very simple project. So you should have this one under whatever directory right now here. See that? Then I can just open and you can show more options. Open in Visual Studio Code, or you just open Visual Studio Code and then open the directory. It's the same thing. Alright, so now we have the file on our computer. We can start making some changes and then push to GitHub. So what we want to do here on the left side, let's say README, right? Course website for something. So now you can add some stuff, just like what we did earlier, and say this is a test or whatever. Okay, Control S, make some changes. Once you Control S, again, the same steps that we just walked through, right? We can commit this one, and then later we can push. So I would write like add a new line, very simple, and then Control Enter. Okay, yes?
Sorry, how did you get GEOG-510 to go into that folder?
So you can right click here. If you're on Windows, if after install Visual Studio Code, it might be already here. So if it doesn't, simple, I can just close everything, show you from scratch. So I'm going to do, for example, you just open Visual Studio Code from scratch, and then just open the navigate to the directory, open it. So here I can do it this way, open. Right now it's empty, and then you just go to File, Open Folder, and then navigate to the folder, right? 510. Select the folder. It's just like open a Word document, same thing, open the directory. Then you should have this one here. Is it open now?
It's GEOG-510, like, isn't it in my folder?
It's in your folder. Do you clone the directory somewhere? Do you clone the directory from GitHub to your computer?
Probably not.
Let me see here. So if not, just go to the website, copy the link, and then somewhere on your computer, looks like my computer is frozen. I cannot click anything.
What link am I copying?
Git clone and then the URL, then you should be able to get that. I'm not sure what's wrong with here, but anyway, so here I can continue to make changes, and so that means like add another one. So add a new line, Control S, and then we can commit the changes again. Edit a new line, and then Control Enter. You see it's a commit. The next step what we can do is upper right corner here. There's one called push. Push. That means now we can push changes to GitHub. So just click the button, see what happens. It might ask you to enter your username or password or something. Because I've done it before, it might not ask me. So pay attention, right? Git push. It's going to show you like sync changes. Again, if the first time, it probably asks you for login. So, can you do that? Git push, just push. Click the button here, upper right corner, the three dots, and then push. Can you copy this one? For the repository that you just created. Can you see this? Once you push, the changes are on GitHub. So we can go back to the GitHub repository. See here? Right, so earlier it's only one commit. Now, if I refresh, I'm not sure if you can see that. You see 3 commits. Adding a new line, like I did 2 more commits earlier. And this is how you can actually synchronize the source code from local computer to GitHub. And if you want, I can click in. You can see exactly what I did. Right, add a new line in here, and then a commit. You can continue to do as many commits you want. We have a lot more practice throughout the semester, but just showing you like, right, everything has been kept track of. And this is how you know like what kind of things you make to the software. You can also make changes directly on GitHub, and then you pull the changes. So next week I'm going to show you how we can create a repository, and then everyone contribute to it. So that's why like open source contribution, how do you contribute to a project, is through those steps. So can any of you get to this one? Raise your hand. No one yet. Can you get to like the push button? in here, this here. Alright, pull and push. Push means push to GitHub. Pull means get the source code from GitHub. And next, let me show you like how do you make changes. Like if the GitHub repository has been updated, how can I get the latest changes? So here, if I want, I can come back to the GitHub repository here, and I can add a new file. For example, here, add files, or you can upload a file if you want. So I can say that create a new file, and from here, I can add a new file. So it's the same thing. It's bi-directional. So I can do stuff on the web, get to my local. I can do things on local, get pushed to the web. So here I can get another one. I can say maybe sample.txt. Okay, and then in here I can write anywhere. This is a sample file. Okay, and I can scroll down here. This is where you commit the changes. Just like in Visual Studio Code, you write a text and then you commit the file. So it's the same thing here. Usually you can change it if you want. Otherwise, I just say create new file, and then it's commit directly to the master branch. Right? You see this new file now on my GitHub repository, right? So this file is not on my local computer yet. So if I click, you can see the file. If I come back to my computer, it's not there yet, right? So all you need, I come to my Visual Studio Code, click this button. So I'm gonna show you again here. The file is not here yet, but if I once I click git pull, see that? It's coming back. So it's being synchronized. So you can get things from the internet, you can push things to your GitHub. So bi-directional. Practice that is not that difficult, but if you need help, let me know. These are the most basic one that you want to use pretty much every day, every week for the assignment. It's how you make things to GitHub, how you make changes, how you create a project. All the steps are pretty much similar. Configuration, make changes, commit, push. You really have to make changes on the GitHub repo directly on using the web interface. You would always do things locally, but sometimes things might mess up. If you don't put the changes, you're trying to push something, sometimes it won't allow you because you are not getting the latest version of the source code base. But there are ways for you to fix that, and I think it's enough for today. So make sure you practice. I create a repo and make sure that you are able to put something to GitHub. Otherwise, you won't have trouble next week because we're going to create a website. I'm going to show you how you can create your profile on GitHub, how you can create your website on GitHub and host it for free. So you'll be able to create a personal website hosted on that using the same step that we just went through. You can put all kind of files in there, and then once you have that, we can enable the so-called GitHub pages that will host the website for free. Questions? If you cannot follow through, watch the video and then send questions to the group email. But this is the most basic, so don't worry too much. But if you start, let me know. We will have you get through. Okay, and that's all for today. I'll see you. So no assignment this week, but next week practice. After that, we're gonna have assignment every week.